Hey everyone, in this video I will show you how to make this Toon shader or a stylized shader effect. So here you can see we have sharp shadows like this, like in cell shading, and you can see flat colors all around the world, and you can see the grains on the rocks, and also you can see a fog effect. So here we can also change the shadows. So if I go to the instance and if I change the shadow type to 1, then we can get this patterns as shadows. So if I press play, I can move around the world and you can see the shadows casted by the objects, and it will be this pattern. This can be any pattern or any color you want to give. So if I change it to this pattern, now we have shadows like this. And if I go here, I can change the shadow pattern color to this red color or a blue color like this. Then I can also have it as emissive, so it will look weird like this, but you can change this value back to like 0, so you can have this pattern as shadow like this, or you can have this pattern as shadow like this. And there are also a lot of settings that you can change. So for instance, if I go here, I can change the outline color. So I can change it to this yellow color. Like this, whatever color you want. I can change the outline size like this. I can change the distance color or the far color like this. Then there are also so many other settings. Here you can see that here if I just reduce the blend like this, you can get a different look. So if I change this to 0 and press play, I get this kind of effect. And I can also keep it at midway like 0.5. Then I get this effect. And also I can change the blend value back to like 1. And here if you see, you can see that the edges are a different color than the center. So it's a slightly different value. So if I change this to like 0, it will be completely flat. And if I change this value to 1, then it will be white around here like this. And if I change this value to -1, then it will be very saturated. So we can have this kind of softer looking edges also. You can see that on the stone also. If I just change this value back to 0.5, you can see there are different color on it. So this is what we are going to be making today. So if you want to download the entire project files, including the landscape and also the completed post-process material, you can support me on my Patreon, and for $5 you can get this and also the project files from almost all my previous tutorials. So these mesh assets are all free assets given by Epic. You can search Infinity Blade on the marketplace and find all of them for free. So to create this, first we need to create a post-process material. So right click, then go to materials, and I will select this and I will call this m_post. Then open it up and change the material domain to post-process. Then here type in blend and change this value to before tone mapping. So if you don't do this, our screen will just jitter because of temporal anti-aliasing. And if you want to get particle systems to also work, you can set this to before translucency. So I'm going to select that before translucency. So now I will just go back to the level and I will just disable this post-process material by giving a value of 0 here. So here you can see how our world looks like. So if I just select this material and if I open it up, here you can see that it is a very simple material. So there is a color and there is this grains node. This is just a simple texture like this. And I'm just multiplying some of these grains with the color. And here you don't really need this 0. And this material doesn't have any normal map. Also here you can type in fully rough and just tick this. So it will be fully rough and you will save some performance. So we don't really want our materials to be reflective. So now you can just use this simple material with your world. So you can just use that simple material with all the meshes in your world and give them colors, etc. So here you can see the shadows like this in the world. So in order for toon shading to work, you need to isolate the lighting information from the world. So in order to do that, we can go to the post-process material and here we can right click and type in scene texture and change this to post-process input 0 and just duplicate this and change this to base color as stored in G buffer. Then here we can just desaturate this. So this will make it black and white. So it will be a linear value now. There won't be any color information. Now if we divide this by this and then if we get an if node, and now we can get a scalar parameter by pressing and holding S and clicking. Then we can call this shadow cutoff. Now change this value to 0.5 and set the slider max value to 1 and connect this here to B, and for A we will just press and hold 1 and click. So we get this constant node and connect this to A and change this value to 1, and now press and hold 1 and click again and set the value to 0 and connect this to A and connect this to the emissive color and click apply. So now here you can see that we have darker areas and lighter areas, and just create a material instance out of it and then select the post-process volume, and we can just add a post-process material like this, and here just select asset reference and then plug that in like this. Now you can see this black and white looking world. So here you can see that the shadow areas are black and the lit areas are white, and we can use this as a mask for our shadows. So in order to make this work properly, you shouldn't have any reflective materials in your world. I would even avoid using normal maps because we are going for a flat looking world. And if this isn't sharp enough, then you can just select the directional light, and here you can see a lot of settings like shadow resolution, shadow bias, and shadow filter sharpen, etc. You can adjust those values so to see if anything changes and to get a sharper looking shadows. So now to give color back to our world, we can go to the material, then here we can get a layer and we can connect this and we can connect this here, and we can get another layer, and I will get a scalar parameter and I will call this blend, and I will connect this to alpha. Then I will just mask this, so RGBA mask, so tick B also, and connect this to B. Then we will just bring this here and connect this here and connect this here, and I will change the blend max value to 1 and the default value to 1 also. So this blend will kind of blur between these two post-process inputs. We will either get the flat base color or our original post-process look. And here for the shadows, we can get this and get a multiply node and connect this here. And I will move this here and move this here also. So now I will just press and hold V and click, and I will call this shadow color, and I will connect this to the B here. So this will multiply with the color from this, either this base color or the post process input. And if the value is 1, we will get these colors because we will get the output from B. And if the value is 0, then we will get the shadow with the shadow color multiplied. So now if I click apply, we get something like this. Now we can select the instance, and here I can just brighten the shadow like this, and also I can change the blend to transition between these two looks, and also I can change the shadow cutoff. I can make the shadow smaller or bigger like this. For now I will set this at 0.5. So here you can see that our sky is black, and we don't really want the post-process material to affect our sky. So in order to mask out the sky, the easiest way is to get a scene depth node. So this is the distance between the camera and the objects in the world. So if I connect this to the emissive color, so before that I will just divide this, and after that I will just get a saturate node. So it will clamp the value between 0 and 1. And now I will just get a scalar parameter, and I will call this distance, and I will connect this here. And now if I change this value to like 10,000 or like 20,000, or I can add one more 0 or one more 0. So here you can see that with this scene depth and the distance, we can mask out the sky and the world. So we will use this to mask out our sky. So I will just disconnect this from here and just duplicate this. We are going to use this later. So here we will just type in this value, and we will get an if node. Sorry, we just connect this here, and we will get a constant, and we will just type in this value and connect this here. And if this scene depth is greater than this value, we will output a value of 1. And if it is less than this value, then we will output a value of 0. Now we can get error, and we can connect this to A, and we can connect this to the MC color. And here from this post process input, we can just mask this, and we can connect this to B here. Or an easy way is to just reverse this, connect this here and connect this here, and connect this to the alpha here, and connect B to A, and then this to B. So it will be easier like this. So change this value to 10,000. So we get something like this. And we can now connect this to the MC color and click apply. So now we can get our sky mask and also our flat shaded world. So now if I go to the instance, I will change the blend to 1, and I will change the shadow color to a bit more darker. So now we will add the pattern texture to our shadows. So you just need a black and white texture like this. Any texture will do for now. So I will just bring in this texture, and now I will just get a world align node. So world align texture. This will project this texture onto the world, and using the shadow mask we will only show this texture in the shadowed area. We need to convert this to a texture object. So we can connect this here, and we will call this pattern size and connect this to the texture here. And here we need to connect a world normal. So we will just duplicate this and change this to world normal. And now we need to mask this and just tick B also. So we need all the three channels for our world normal and connect this to the world normal. Then we will just mask this to R only. We will get a linear color value from this. Now if I just connect this to the emissive color, we can project this texture onto the world. So if I change this value to 100, you can see that it is being projected to the world. So now we need to make this to only appear in the shadowed regions. So I will just disconnect this and connect this here. Here this is a lerp for the shadows. So here I can just get a lerp like this, and I can connect the shadow color here, and I can connect this R here, and I can get another vector parameter, and I can call this pattern color, and I can connect this here. And now I will just move it here, then connect this to multiply here and click apply. So now here you can see our shadow pattern is applied, and we can change this to whatever color we want, like this. And we can also change the individual shadows like this to whatever we want. So that's it for the shadow patterns. So one more thing here is that if I press play, you can see that our character is affected by the shadow pattern, and we don't really want this because the pattern is projected in world space, and when our character moves through the world, the pattern kind of feels like it is moving. So we don't really want this. So one easy fix is that you can go to the character blueprint and you can select the mesh, and here you can type in custom, then you can tick render in custom depth path, and we can go back to the material. Then here I will type in scene texture, and I will change this to custom depth, and I will duplicate this, and I will change this to scene depth, and I will just subtract, and I will just mask this to R only, so we get a linear value. Now I will just seal this. So the values are rounded to 1 if it is greater than 0. Now I will saturate this, so it will be between 0 and 1. So if I connect this to the emissive color now, our character will be a different color compared to the world. So the world is white and our character is black because he is rendered in custom depth. So we can use this to mask out the shadow pattern from our character. So now go back to the material. I will just connect this to the emissive again. And here I will bring it here. And I will get error. And I will connect this shadow color to A and this to B. And I can connect this to the alpha here. So when it is 0, when it is a character, we will only get the shadow color. And when it is white and it is a landscape, we will also get the pattern color. Now connect this to the multiply and now click apply. So now you can see that our character isn't affected by the pattern, but his shadow also has patterns. So this is what we want. I will just increase the brightness of the shadows a bit like this. So now we will create our outline effect. So I have created way too many outline effects in the past, and in this video I will just create a very quick outline effect. So if you want to get more detailed outlines, you can check my past tutorials. So here, to get an outline, I will just get a scalar parameter and I will call this outline size, and here I will just type in blur sample offset and connect this to the offset amount. So this will control the outline size. So now here we will just right click and type in sample scene depth, and now here for the pixel offset I will just press 2 and click. So I will get this 2 vector and connect this to the pixel offset, and I will get a multiply and I will connect this to the pixel offset, and I will multiply this with a value of -4, which is a kernel value for outlines. And now I will get an add node and connect this here and just duplicate this again, and then duplicate this again. Now connect 0, 1 to the pixel offset for the top outline and 1, 0 for the right, 0, -1 for bottom, and -1, 0 for the left. Now we will get 3 adds and connect this here, connect this here, connect this here, connect this here, and connect this here and here, and connect this here. And here I will just absolute this. So if there is any negative value, we will also make them positive. Now we can get a multiply node and I will call this multi, and now I will get a power node and I will get a scalar parameter and call this POW. And if this doesn't work for you, try switching the position of the multiply and the power. And now connect this here, and here we can just get a saturate node to clamp this value between 0 and 1. And here we can get another lure and connect this to A and connect this to the B here. And here the outline value will be white. So we will connect this to the alpha. And because this value will be white or 1, we will give the outline color to B. So get a vector parameter and call this outline color. And now connect this to the B here and click apply. So now pick multi, outline size and power and change all of this value to 1. So we get this outline like this. I will change the power to 3 and I will change the multi value to 0.01. So now we have a clean looking outline like this, and we can also increase outline size to 2, or we can change this outline size to 1 and change this value to 0.05 or 0.04. So you can adjust that however you want. Then you can also change the outline color by ticking this and then changing the color like this to whatever color you want. So this already looks like my demo. So I will just show you how these materials are made. So if I just select the landscape and I will just open the landscape material up. So it is just a simple color like this, and it just says micro variation texture to get a small difference in color. So I will just multiply that with 0.9, so it will be a bit darker than this original color, and I will just lerp that between this. And this is a massive texture on the landscape, and here I am just also multiplying that with this green texture. And here this landscape is fully rough, so tick that also. So that's how the landscape looks like. And now if you want to see how the foliage looks like, I'll just select the foliage. And here I have this wind opacity mask, and I think this is also fully rough. Yes, and you can just connect this R channel to alpha and just darken a bit, so we get this, so we get some details to our material, and we don't connect anything to metallic specular roughness, and we shouldn't even use normal map. But on some models the normal map will work if you just reduce the blend value a little bit. So now to give a very basic rim glow like effect, we can go back to the material, and I will move all of this here, and I will get a look, and I will bring the scene depth here, and I will connect this to the alpha, and I will get a desaturate node, and I will connect this here, and I will connect this to A, and I will get a scalar parameter, and I will call this saturate, and now I will just connect this here, and I will connect this to the A here, and connect this to B here, and click apply. So now if I just reduce the distance value a bit, and now I can just pick the saturate and change the value to 1. I can reduce the saturate value like this, so nothing changes. So one more thing we need to do is that we need to go back here, and we can get a power node, and I will call this S power. I will call this scalar value S power, and I will connect this here, and I will click apply, and I will just reduce the value to 10,000, and I will select F power and change this value to like 2, and then I will change the saturate value to -1. So I made a mistake here. Here we are not supposed to connect this. So just bring it here, and with this we will create a fog. So I will just get an add node and connect this here and connect this to B, and we don't really want this power here. I'll just delete that, and I will connect this saturate to the alpha here, and here I will just create a vector parameter, and I will call this far color. So we can modulate the far color with this. So now if I click apply, so now if I take far color, and I can change this to a color like this, to whatever you feel like, and you can increase the distance by increasing this value. So now we have a fake fog like effect. Now we will give the desaturation effect. So in order to do that, I will just move this here, and I will get a Fresnel node, and I will just duplicate this world normal, and I will bring it here. You don't really have to do this. So this is just something extra I added. You don't really have to do this to get the Toon effect. Now connect this power to exponent and connect this to the normal. And now if I connect this to the emissive color, we can see a rim lighting effect in the world. And if I change the power value we can see something like this. So you can see the inside value is black and the outside or the edges of the mesh is white. So what we can do here is that we can get a lerv and we can connect this to the B here, and we can connect this to B here also, and connect this value to alpha, and here we will just get a desaturate node and connect this here, and we will get a scalar parameter and we will call this saturate and connect this to the fraction and click apply, and also connect this to the MC color and now click apply. So now you can see that it is very saturated. So I will change the saturation value to negative 0.5, and now I will change the S power to 1 or 0.5. So now you can see a rim effect like this. Again, you don't really have to add this. I just added this because I like the look. So I think this is what we end up with. And I think this is it for the tutorials. Thanks for watching, everyone.